Hey guys, it's Taylor Rick, and this is the first Echoes of New Eden short. I'm going to be putting these out every single Monday, giving you a little bit of tips, tricks, things I think about as far as this game goes, Eve Echoes, that we all love and love to hate and hate to love. Today we're going to be talking specifically about the one thing we really love to hate and hate to love and talk about way too much, but I've got a little bit different thoughts here as far as insurance and industry, or lack thereof. So we've talked about all these different ways that they can fix insurance and how that would be the thing that actually changes and fixes industry. But I think actually the way that insurance works right now, the majority of people would say they love. If you recall back to a time in this game we did not have insurance, we would basically had a quasi-manual method of it where we would just send a note to the devs saying, hey, we got disconnect, or hey, this, that, or the other, bullshitted our way through, and a few days later we got the whole ship back, all the fittings, the rigs, the whole 9 yards. And so we were kind of gaining and cheating the system that way back in the day. Now we have insurance that requires IP, which you have to buy for Plex, which is a great little sink, keeps the cost of Plex up a little bit, makes it worthwhile to purchase Plex or put R into the game to then get Plex, and that, of course, funds the devs and the developer team. So I think insurance as a whole, people would say probably more than not that it works. Insurance for the majority of your ships is 30% of the cost of your loss. And then for capitals, it's, 70, 75, 80%. It's somewhere in there. I don't know. It's not worth it as far as the capital goes. Just build another one. It's a little skewed and screwed up. But at any rate, so I think most people would say that insurance itself actually works. The knock-on effect of that, though, is that it kills industry. This stuff just generally just never dies. You don't have to do reverse engineering for holes all over again because you just get your hole back. Your rigs always come back. Some of your fittings come back. And so you've got this no loss. The stuff just never gets wiped out of the game. It's just constantly recycled, and that, therefore your rig prices go way down. Therefore your hole prices go way down, and it kills the market, or it does a significant amount of damage to the market. So I've got one fix that fixes everything. So hear me out on this, and I'm going to talk about the cause and effect of this fix as well. So first off, we have this thing called an insurance office center, or insurance office, that if your corporation has sovereignty and you have a citadel somewhere, you can anchor the insurance office, and now you get some of these losses that are in your corp come back to you in the form of a contract that you fill, and then magically things just appear again, and there's a cost there. Sometimes it's not worth it to accept these contracts because it means it's a loss of revenue, as in, hey, build this ship and you'll get, $200 million, but your button pushing your minerals is $250, right? So what's the frickin' point of that? Plus, it only feels like 1 out of every 6 losses of the exact same ship. At least that's the way it's been described to me. I don't have one of these things because I've been told it's pointless, so I've never anchored it. I went ahead and built one while I was thinking about this idea, and I'm going to be anchoring it to kind of play around with its actual settings to see if my thinking on this changes. I don't think it will. What I think the devs need to do is change it to where if you want insurance and you want that nice 30% and it costs you that on your IP, then it has to go through this insurance office, which means if your corporation doesn't have a citadel, you don't own sovereignty, and you don't have an insurance office, you don't get insurance. That's it. And now your corporation has to have minerals, has to have PI, and has to have blueprints sitting there ready to go to be able to fill your insurance order. And you have to wait until they fill it. Now, maybe you make it a little easier where they can fill the hull, the rigs, or whatever else that got picked up on insurance that didn't get dropped. And you can pick those off one at a time as they're done. But your ass has got to wait. That would do a lot of things. That would certainly make sure the corporations have to have a good mining setup no matter what they do. Even if they're just solely a PvP corporation, they're going to have maybe their contract shared to another alliance member or something. Right now, I don't think that's a thing. It's only within the corporation. But so they would probably have to have maybe hire some miners, right, and have a corporation office and hire some guys, alts, to come over and be in their corporation to be able to handle those things for them. So that they don't have to have a mining wing, but they better do something, and they better collaborate with somebody. And this gives you another reason to fight over these things. And maybe you make it to where the insurance office itself A lot of these structures are just total shit with the way they're set up. You can never kill them. And if you do take their strip their shields down or whatever else, 15 minutes later they come back up. They don't work the same way that outposts do. They don't work the same way that citadels do. I think they need to make these structures where they're killable, or at the very least, they're on the same kind of clock that an outpost is, where you've got 24 hours after you strip the shields, 24 hours after you take down the armor, 7 days until you can take the structure. And I think they need to make it to where maybe not the shields being stripped, but definitely once the armor is stripped, that sucker doesn't work anymore. So now your corporation cannot fulfill your insurance orders. This would make a huge new dynamic to the game. And I think that's something that we need to do. Now, the unintended consequences, because this is another thing that developers never really do. If they're going to make a change, what's the consequence of that change? It's kind of like their April balance patch, which was going to be fantastic. But then they decided to back off of it and actually listen to us and not do all of the changes. So when they did only part of the changes, they didn't even realize what the unintended consequences of that would mean, which is the balance patch really meant nothing. So in this case, if the only way for you to get insurance is via the insurance office, what do you do if you're not in a corporation? Or worse yet, what does your corporation do if you don't own sovereignty somewhere, or can't own sovereignty somewhere, or you lose sovereignty? Kind of like what's happened in the South with a whole bunch of people lately. So at that point, you're kind of screwed. You lose your insurance. Now, maybe, for me, I would say you just lose your insurance, period. This would force people to get out of high sec and to get out of low sec completely and go into null. And it would give us a much broader area to be fighting for, a reason for conflict. Now, maybe that's a little too harsh. Maybe for those players who don't want to do that, maybe we should just do a 70 or 80% worth of insurance. So your insurance is going to cost you a lot if you're in high sec or low sec, not in a corporation, and don't have an insurance office. But I think this is something that the developers would definitely get behind, seeing as how their entire focus is on the corporations. Their focus is not on the alliances. They have no plans to add anything to strengthen alliance, intercorporation operations with one another. They have no plans to expand some of these structures to work within an alliance, like Sino beacons or Sino blockers. It's all just corporation, as in one of the best updates they've had all year, the corporate market and the corporate mission setup, which I'll be going into in one of these little shorts at some point as well. I really think this would be an excellent addition to the game. I'd like to know what your guys' thoughts and feedback is. Did I forget anything as far as what the unintended consequences of this change would be? For me personally, I would love to see it go this way. This would do a lot to help with insurance, really for individual players, but it would also really strengthen the industry side of things, which we're going to need big time, because as soon as these work will start hitting the field, goodbye mineral market. That's all I got for today. This was Taylor Rick, Echoes of New Eden Short. Make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us over on YouTube. This is the only place this content's going to be. So make sure you follow us over there. Give us your comments, feedbacks. Love hearing from you guys, and we'll see you this Thursday on the Echoes of New Eden with myself and Rambo.